Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
So, welcome to the show, and today's episode is 193. Today we have Frances O'Brien. She is a hypno and EFT therapist and a counsellor, and we're going to be talking about hope after loss. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, helping coaches get their message heard to the people who need to hear it. So, Frances is a certified hypnotherapist, an advanced emotional freedom technique therapist with over a decade of experience. Her speciality is hope after loss, and she is very passionate about it. So welcome to the show, Frances.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
So first of all, if you'd like to share with the listeners a little bit about how you came to be doing what you're currently doing.
As it happens, when I was 2 years old, my father passed away at the age of 50 from lung cancer after having smoked since he was about 12 years old. And it gave me a real fear of death. And for the next 16 years, I was actively fearing. I thought about it quite frequently, especially for a little kid. That's unusual. And it occurred to me a lot. I thought about it a lot. So when I got to college at 18, I took a class called Death, Life, and Health, in which we analyzed literature, songs, films that happen to have death as its central theme. And it really changed my viewpoint, and it made me feel very differently about death. And I lost my fear of it. And I actually began to think of it as an interesting thing. And then I had the privilege to do volunteer work at a suicide helpline, at a support group for people who'd lost loved ones either to suicide or to something else. I also volunteered at a hospice, and it all just helped to fertilize this sort of passion that I had for helping people to either, get through death more easily, or to, if they were the ones who had lost someone to death, to experience that more easily.
The thing is, I suppose, we are all, maybe we're not taught, but everybody talks about, what to do when you have a child. Nobody really talks about even when you get older and you lose your elderly parents, which is natural, like nobody's getting out of this alive. But my point is, we're never prepared for the inevitable because, again, nobody's getting out here alive. It's a natural process. It's going to happen to absolutely every single person. Yet in this society, we seem to be totally ill-equipped to actually deal with the whole grieving process. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think it's because we fear our own deaths. And even talking about it makes us very uncomfortable. And it's been my experience that when somebody loses a loved one to death, other loved ones will rally around them for maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, and then they go away. I'm very comfortable going in there then, when the people then feel the most alone and they don't really know what to do next. And emotional freedom technique is especially helpful for it.
Yes, I mean, that's the thing. It's almost like some people, they go one or two ways, don't they? Some people just don't even want to bring it up because it's uncomfortable, so they may stay away from the person who's grieving. Others just really don't know what to say, or they may say what that person perceives as the wrong thing. So it can go, they're going to get lots of condolences in the beginning, but yes, after a while that's going to taper off. But grief the whole thing is a process, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. It is. And whether the death is, if somebody has a terminal disease and you know that they're going to die, or if somebody dies suddenly, either way, some people think at least you had a chance to say goodbye. I've been in both. It's no easier either way. But the person who's the survivor is left with often overwhelming new responsibilities and things like that. And it can be very overwhelming, and they often have to do it alone. So I'm currently writing a book called Finding Hope After Loss, and I'm also writing a book called Giving Hope After Loss for people who know somebody else who's a survivor, to help people to have materials to work with, to know what to say and what not to say, and in the various different ways that people lose loved ones, because you might lose a grown-up loved one, you might lose a child, you might have a miscarriage or a stillbirth, it might be a pet who dies. And those things all affect people, and it's important to know how to be there for them.
And maybe that's where it comes from. I suppose as a parent, we always want to protect our children. And so for some people, if the pet dies, they might try and cover it up or purchase another one to try and replace it, depending on what it is, to shield them from the pain of losing a pet. But is that helping, or is that just moving it over? It's not actually helping anybody actually deal with death, which is, it's going to happen. It's going to happen to people. We're blessed if we do lose our parents at a ripe old age, but it's still a horrendous thing to go through. I myself lost my father, is still sat over there on the side. He passed nearly 2 years ago, and I'm still not quite ready to let him go. Quite happy having him here.
Do you feel his spirit?
Yes. Yeah. I have a little chat with him sometimes.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, I love hearing that. And that's another thing. A lot of people think that death is the end. And I don't believe that. I believe death is a change, that we never really were our bodies to begin with. We're our spirit. When people ask me if I believe in an afterlife, I say I believe in a before, during, and afterlife. We are our spirits. We manifested as bodies for a while, but we weren't always bodies, and we won't always be bodies. So if having your dad there next to you brings you comfort, I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. But what you asked before about the parent maybe buying another pet trying to replace the other one, the child is going to know, and they're going to wonder why you're not talking about it. And it's going to make death more horrible for the child if the adult doesn't talk about it. I always encourage people to be very honest about their feelings, even around their children.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way forward. Again, it is because it's an uncomfortable. As human beings, we're always trying to escape pain. We're trying to run away from pain. That is a stronger driving force than actually reaching out for pleasure. But the issue there is, and I do this myself, I like to live in a bubble. I don't want to talk about it. It's not happening. But yes, I totally recognize that doesn't work, and it doesn't actually help. And somehow we need to find a way to become comfortable talking about it. And I suppose, your belief, different people have got different beliefs on the subject. I'm of the same opinion. Energy can't be created or destroyed. So it's just going to transform into something else. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. That's it. But that's just my belief. Everybody else has got different beliefs, but maybe that has a taking on it then. If I think it's quite sad if they don't have any kind of spiritual belief, because nothing? Is that what the fear is? What do you think the real fear is of this?
People who say only science is legitimate, I respect their beliefs in science, but they don't realize that they're being the same as people who say, no, only spirituality is legitimate. Science and spirituality are both legitimate. And if you believe that at death, everything just stops, you're certainly entitled to that belief, but what good does it do you? And by not talking about fears of death or your feelings of loss when somebody you love dies, you hold in those feelings, and they then can manifest as physical negative things. You could get sick, you could get injured, and it's not healthy. So the best thing to do is to think of death as a type of birth. There are people who are called death doulas who help people who are dying to get to that next phase. And I think that's a beautiful occupation. I considered pursuing it, but I was already so well entrenched in this one that I thought I'll stick with it this way. Yeah.
I had a guest on a little while ago so we've had this conversation, and it's on the face of it, you initially think, what? you do what. But actually, when you understand what the service that she's providing, it's what a wonderful thing, because it's partly, I suppose, to do with acceptance and not being hard on yourself, not easier for the person who's passing. The transition is easier because they can let go of a lot of things that they might be feeling guilt over, or all these negative emotions that do not serve us, but also is actually helping the people who are going to be left behind deal with it. No, I think maybe that's where we've been going wrong, because there haven't been as many people that are helping people through it. And some people might pass a flippant remark, just give it time, and expect, some people expect everybody to respond maybe in the same way that they did, and everybody deals with grief in a different way. Is that what you've found?
Yes, very much. Some people are fine with it. I had a neighbor a few years ago who first he found out that he had pancreatic cancer, and he survived it. He got medical treatment and he survived it, but then it returned, and he happened to be of the Buddhist faith, and he was okay with it. And one of his friends made a documentary about his experiences as he was dying. And that's a very unusual viewpoint in my experience. Most people fear death. Most people think it's a loss, that it's the end, that sort of thing. And they're shocked by it. And it's unfortunate that that's how we, in our society, tend to treat death, as opposed to the joy of birth. Couldn't we see death as being we're born into the next phase? I
suppose it is complex, and it does depend, so I feel, rightly or wrongly, on the different circumstances. I personally my whole world imploded when I lost someone under very tragic circumstances. And maybe it was just very selfish, the fact that, yeah, but I'm not going to see you again. I want to see you again. Obviously, grieving the loss, like, he's going to miss out on all this life. I was just so mortified. But a lot of that, I'll admit, was a selfish, I want to see you again. And so there is you can see it as loss. And yeah, it took me a very long time to get over that. Whereas other situations, again, like we say, if they're very elderly, they've lived a full life, and you realize that, okay, it was time, because none of us live forever. But yeah, and who wants to? I would struggle to understand. I feel for people who just, again, look, I can't even talk about it. To the loss of a child, to me, that would, how does anybody get over that?
Among the people I've worked with, they agree that is the worst loss to experience. That is the most difficult death to go through, because, as my sister-in-law said, it's the wrong order. You had this understanding that I would die first and my children would die after me. So people do have a lot of difficulty with that. It is possible to go on with your life afterward and to be happy again. One of the things that it's important to remember, whether you're the person who's grieving or the person who's offering condolence, is that there is no closure with death. Life is different now. That person is no longer here. And I don't think you're at all selfish for wanting to see the person who died again. I think that's a perfectly natural experience. Your current human experience understood that person as another human that you loved. And it seems like that human and it's true, that human is no longer going to be there. What I usually do at that time, and I wish for everyone that they could do this, is then tune more into the spiritual relationship. And when you start to ask for signs, you begin to receive them. And they can manifest in many different ways. Feathers, coins, songs, water in unusual places is often a sign. Ask your loved ones to give you signs, and you will receive them.
Oh, love that. Love that. So with regards to what you do, so hypnotherapy, and for those, if never heard of what EFT is, how would you explain that?
EFT is based on the same principle as acupuncture, and that is that it's an ancient Eastern belief, And it's that belief that we have a series of meridians all throughout our bodies, much like your veins, but instead of transporting a fluid, these meridians transport your life energy, your ki, your chi, your prana. And anytime there's a problem anywhere in your life, whether it's yourself and it's pain, injury, illness, financial issues, sleep issues, weight, whatever it may be, or if it seems like it's outside of yourself, like the death of a loved one or a difficult relationship or something like that, it's believed within the system that there is a blockage somewhere along these meridians, and that's what actually causes the problem. And so by tapping on certain points along these meridians, you release the blockage, you get your life energy flowing again, and you do begin to feel better. Because the problem is not really what it seems to be. The problem is your emotional response to what occurred.
Ah, there you go. It's all down to that, isn't it? It's how we view everything, our perception on everything. And I love the fact that's, like you said earlier, about the science versus the spirituality. But you know what? They are all coming together. They are proving that these things. I was a sports therapist for 27 years, and acupuncture, some people would turn their nose up at it. They've proven it. They can measure the energy. They still don't understand it maybe in the West, but they know it is what it is. It is there. There is an energy current running, because they've proved it with this little device that can pinpoint it and pick up on the energy. And isn't it funny that something that is so ancient, how many thousands of years has acupuncture been around? And how on earth, if we're supposed to be the most advanced civilization that has been on the planet, how did they pick up on it, and how did they understand how these meridians affect our body mentally, physically, spiritually?
Absolutely. It's very old, as you said. It's many thousands of years old, maybe even older than that. I don't know. But you're absolutely right. It has been scientifically proven. It has scientific experiments have been done in which, say, the cells of a person are removed from their body and placed in a location far away, and then they do something to the person and the cells respond. That's not something you can explain scientifically. That's, yourself.
Yeah.
And Bruce Lipton has a wonderful talk in which Dr. Bruce Lipton has a wonderful talk in which he explains how we don't really ever die, that we leave our bodies aside, but we don't really ever die. And this is a scientist speaking. So so he merged them himself, and like you said, he's not the only one.
Yeah, it is. It's all coming together. They're proving it now, I suppose, with the technological age. They are coming up with these devices that can measure energy, and that they can, just because they don't understand it, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe we were wrong, and there is something a little bit more to it, just because we can't see it with our eyes or touch it with our hands or smell it, or it is there. So for you, what are the options for people when they're going through this, when they are going through the grieving process?
Often I start with emotional freedom technique, and I'll ask them what they're experiencing. And so often it's overwhelm, anxiety. They start not to feel well because your body will manifest the things that you're thinking. And I can work on all of that using EFT for the most part. And it's very effective, and they do begin to feel better within the session. And then I will also send my clients after each session some phrases to tap on, so that they can tap between sessions. And then with hypnotherapy, when the person feels ready, and that's usually going to be 2 years or so after the death of a loved one, we can actually do a guided meditation in which they encounter the person who died again, and they get to spend some time with them. And the people that I've done it with have all said how first they got very emotional. There's a tear almost always that rolls down their cheek. And to me, that's like a printed receipt that connection has been made. But they always say that it was very fulfilling, and it was really like spending time with the person. And it was very satisfying because, especially if you lose someone suddenly, you always feel like you just wish you could spend some more time with them. And in this guided meditation, they do get to spend more time with them.
So you're providing a very good service because, what are the other options? How do you feel about talk therapy or the other option of going to a doctor and getting some kind of pill to deal with it? Does that work?
It depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to have something come in from the outside that can make you feel better, then I suppose medication is one way to go. I would always prefer to see a person choose to heal from within, which is why I do what I do. And obviously, I was raised in a Western culture and I was taught medicine and surgery and outside therapy and all the allopathic treatments. But I think there's a lot to be said about healing from within. If you wanted to make your biceps stronger, you'd lift a weight like this. And as you're lifting the weight, you make little tiny incisions, little tiny cuts in your bicep. And then you rest and your bicep heals itself and it becomes stronger. So I think that way of seeing things for any kind of internal healing is better. I'm not saying don't go to doctors. If you feel like that's the best thing to do, go to a doctor. But I also think that there's a lot to be said for the Eastern way of doing things.
100%. Yeah, the body heals itself, but we get in our way. If we were to just get out of our way, the body will heal itself. I used to teach about fasting and the health benefits of autophagy, and I find it really fascinating that the two sort of interlink. And what I mean by that is how strange that if we go through controlled periods of actually not eating, so not continually giving our digestive system work to do, after a certain amount of hours, after about 19 hours, the cells, I used to describe it as they're like little Pac-Man, and they must be hanging around. There's no food coming in. There's nothing to do. Oh dear, we best go and do the housework then because it's a bit of a mess. And off they trot and they go around the body and they tidy up. And this is true. This isn't, Dr. Ashumi won the Nobel Prize in 2016 on his research on this. The body has its own recycling system. And it will go around and it can go around and clean up even old injuries that if you weren't maybe in the best physical and mental state and it wasn't a great job, it will go and tidy that up. So many health benefits. Obviously very controlled and it's got to be done right. Nobody can just go straight into not eating for 19 hours because it will make them worse. But the same seems to apply when you talk about mental health. Because the problem is the stress, the problem is the overthinking. And isn't it funny that actually when you do things like EFT or hypnotherapy, what you're doing is actually calming the mind and allowing that chitter chatter, that voice in your head to shh. And amazingly, the body heals itself mentally as well. And I just find that such a fascinating thing that you actually don't need anything. But then that doesn't sell, does it? So
there's no money in that.
No, there's no money in that. So yeah, stop eating, heal yourself and take time out, self-care, meditate, get some hypnotherapy with a specialist. And what is your particular speciality?
I'm great with stress relief and with finding hope after loss. Those are my two leading specialties. But people come to me to change relationships and to bring in more money and, when they want to lose weight, things like that.
Isn't it funny how, this does help with this. So what is going on with our minds? We obviously have been conditioned through our schooling systems to really not understand ourselves very well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Your subconscious mind, you likely know, is the majority of your mind. And what happens in your subconscious mind is unknown to you, or it's unknown to us. You may have heard people say we only use 10% of our brains. I think what they mean is we're only aware of 10% of our brains, what happens in the conscious mind. Because your subconscious mind is in charge. And if there's something in there that says, no, you're an overweight person, or you're an injured person, or you're a sick person, then it's going to be really hard for you to change that just by making up your mind to do it, because you make up your mind with your conscious mind, not your subconscious. But your subconscious mind is going to cling to those old unhealthy beliefs because that's who you are to it. And if you take that away, that's death when it doesn't want to die. So we don't really know what goes on in the vast majority of our minds because it's the subconscious. People say it's 88 to 90%. Some people even give higher numbers than that. It's subconscious.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely think so. It's funny that we trust it for the really important things like living, as in, thankfully, we don't have to remember to beat our heart. Thankfully, we don't have to remember consciously to breathe because we'd be dead in a millisecond. So there's so many processes going on throughout the body at every millisecond, millions of transference of cells and just so much going on for us to just live, even when we are asleep. So even when we consciously have shut down, yet we don't trust it for other things too. Because again, I don't know, somehow we've got to a place where we know best. We think that our conscious mind knows best. We're in control. We clearly aren't in control, are we?
To some extent we are. But when it comes to your subconscious mind, if there's something in there that it wants to cling to, and with your conscious mind that it's unhealthy for you, it can be really difficult for you just to make up your mind. And sometimes what your subconscious mind will do is it'll tease you. You'll say, I've been smoking. I know smoking is no good for me. I should stop smoking. And it'll allow you to stop smoking for maybe a day or a very short period of time. And you think, great, I can do it. But then suddenly the urge hits and you start smoking again.
Give in.
Yeah.
I suppose that's linked to, like I always used to say, with regards to things like trying to lose weight, is the fact that we use our willpower. So all these sort of whatever you want to call it, mental muscles, I suppose. There are mental muscles. And I would always say the problem I have is that my willpower probably lasts 10 days. And yet it could take at least 3 weeks to create a habit. So there's a gap. Yeah. And maybe the problem is that gap. How do you get over that gap? So the way I see hypnotherapy is the quick route. You're taking a shortcut because, if it takes, as we know, it takes time. You've got to continuously, consistently repeat something over and over until it becomes habitual. Man, that's hard. Plus, your willpower might not last that long. So actually, why not take a shortcut and have hypnotherapy and bypass all that, go straight to the subconscious?
I love it. That sounds great.
Because that's what you do, isn't it? That is exactly what you'll do. You're changing things from the inside out. Is
Absolutely.
that right?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I just love doing it. I'm so grateful to have found a career that I can be so passionate about. I'm very fortunate, very blessed, and I'm quite grateful for it. And thank you for promoting. Thank you for promoting counselors and other health practitioners. That's beautiful of you to do that.
I love it. I suppose the thing is that I was very much brought up on homeopathy. My mum wasn't. She has changed her mind since. I know she does take pharmaceutical things, but we were brought up very much that way. Just through my own personal experience, I've realised that, yes, relying on certain, I'm not going to completely diss that side of things, but I have always found ways to help solve issues in a different way, in a holistic way. When you've done it for yourself, you know it works. Or if you've done it with your children, you know it works. There's nothing that they can say that's gonna change my mind, because it's only through experience. And I do think we don't give ourselves enough credit to the power that we have. And again, we just seem to have found ourselves in a place where we've totally given our power away to an external force, just like you said at the beginning. Everything we need is within us. Everything, for anything, everything is within us. Yet we've somehow become disconnected from that, or we don't believe it anymore. And I suppose witches were burnt at the stake back in the that things have been lost, and it just seems such a shame, because you look around you, there's always something that consoles. Why stinging nettles next to dock leaves? There's nature, it's all balanced out. So there's always a way. And we, on a mental health kind of way, we think we're broken, and nobody is. Nobody's broken. Maybe it's just the level of awareness. If you understood actually how powerful and how strong you are, and had some little tools in your toolbox to deal with stuff, people would be living far happier and fulfilling lives. And it seems to me that we just seem to be slowly killing ourselves. It's like a form of self-harm.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. I know so many people who are brainwashed, maybe covertly as little kids, that growing older has to hurt. And so they have knee problems, and they have back problems, and they have this and that and the other thing. And it's just, they'll all say it's because I'm old. But I used to do this volunteer gig where I would go to seniors' homes, and I would do their chores for them, essentially. And there was one woman who was born the same year as my mom. They were only 6 months apart. They both had several health issues, but they were the same age, and they both attributed their health issues to being that age. If it were because you were old, everybody would have the same problem at a certain age. But everybody has different problems. They didn't have a single problem that matched, but they were the same age. And I'm now 60, and I have several friends that I've been friends with since I first went to college. So we're about the same age, and a lot of them have a lot of health problems and I don't. And I think it's more because at an early age, I started doing things to take care of myself, and that they relied more on the outside. And it's really sad in a way.
Yeah, I agree. It's for me, did sports therapy, but I was also in the fitness industry for 25 years. And people would, oh, I can't do that because I got a bad knee. Oh, I can't do it. And I'd think, well, that's why you should. That's exactly why you actually really need to do it, because otherwise that knee's going to get worse, the back's going to get worse, and then you won't be able to do anything. But I suppose it's almost, and there's no blame here or putting anybody down. It's all obviously unconscious, completely unconscious. If people were aware of what was going on, then they would have the power to change. But I think unconsciously, it's almost like a get out clause. Right, no, I can't do that because it's that. But they also really don't understand the real benefit that they would actually get out from it. And you're right. I think sometimes people, it's almost like a competition to have. How ill? No, oh no, I was like really ill. I was like on death. It's like a competition. I was worse than you. And you think, oh my goodness, how crazy is that? But I don't know. I think this is the whole society. Thankfully, I haven't had a television for 2.5 years. And the best thing about that is I don't see adverts. And I do think subliminally, like it gets to winter and certain adverts start appearing. It's almost like they're preparing them to expect to get ill at this time of year. It's like,
exactly.
I don't get ill.
And I'm not sure what advertisements are like in the UK, but in America, they will actually tell you to ask your doctor for this drug. They'll say the first 15 seconds of the advertisement are what's good about the drug, maybe 10 seconds. The whole rest of the advertisement is what it could do to you, and just awful things, like your head might just fall right off of your body or something like that. But then they say, ask your pharmaceutical provider for this drug. And it's just a ridiculous situation. And you're right, people do, because it's on television, they think this is a good thing. I'm getting it from the news or something.
Yeah, it's conditioning. It's just, and again, it's all unconscious. So there's no blame here. I've really noticed a change in myself. You don't realize how much you're taking things on board, even if I didn't even want to watch the news. I would have said I didn't watch the news even before. But you can catch things. You might be in the kitchen, you hear it, and you really don't realise how much this continual messaging is having an impact on you. So people are walking around. It's not their fault. They're just on autopilot, and because they've heard it or read it or whatever, they've taken it on board. Because they don't believe that they have the power to change anything. They have the power to be able to thrive after a loss. It doesn't have to be, yes, I mean, would you agree that there's a grieving process, that it would be unhealthy to stop? Or would I be wrong? Would it be, could you still totally get through it? Or would you say that it's going to be natural to go through certain stages?
I tell people there is no right or wrong way to experience grief, that everybody has their own experience. If somebody seems to be the sort of person who's holding it in and trying not to grieve, I highly encourage them to experience what they're experiencing, because as I mentioned earlier, your body will begin to manifest things. And they won't be necessarily good things. They will often be pain, injury, or illness. And
stress, if you're blocking it, that's going to cause stress, and stress is going to cause disease, isn't it?
It lowers your immunity. It's absolutely right. Yeah, I encourage people to experience what they need to experience. And most people, it's perfectly normal for grief to last 2 years before you begin, a year or 2 years before you begin to really be able to enjoy yourself fully again. But an important thing to do while you're grieving is to acknowledge consciously those times you are enjoying yourself, those times when you do laugh, when you have a moment when you're not feeling so burdened and encumbered by the grief itself, because those moments will become more and more common as time goes on. And again, there's no closure with death. What you do is you learn to go on and live your life now with that person no longer a human presence in it.
Yeah, so really it is all about just accepting it, being a little bit kind to yourself, and it's okay. It's all okay. It's perfectly natural to have all these feelings, and whatever works for you. So with your work, you mentioned earlier that you tend to come in once sort of the friends and support structure around them have started to come down. Would you help with the sort of hypnotherapy with that? I think you mentioned like possibly even 2 years later, or is there any time when that would help earlier on?
I always offer it. I let them know about it at the beginning, but I think most people would rather wait, at least in my experience, most people would rather wait until they're no longer feeling so sad. And grief is like a weight. It's like you've got something on your shoulders or your chest. You feel bound in some way by it. And so it's usually easier to do the guided meditation one where you meet the person who has passed away. It's usually better to wait on that one. But initially, the emotional freedom technique is extremely helpful because people are feeling guilt, they're feeling anxiety, they're feeling overwhelmed. People are just making themselves nuts with how could I have done things differently to change the outcome? And they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves that they don't have to put on themselves.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, be kind to yourself.
Be kind and be forgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, we're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? Yeah,
Very
the only way I could used to be able to describe it, I would feel it in my stomach. I'd go, I feel like my soul is drowning. That was it was a heavy from there. Very bizarre. Never really experienced it, which means I'm blessed. I'm very lucky that I hadn't really experienced any extreme sort of grief when I was younger. But yes, it's you never know how it's going to affect you. Yeah, I can relate to that. So with regards to, yes, there are other professionals that can help, but what do those other professionals have to do with what you're doing now?
Do you mean like other therapists?
Yes, I suppose there's talk therapy.
Well, I know that there are people psychologists and psychiatrists who do specialize in grief therapy. And if that is what the grieving person feels is needed, I encourage it 100%. I've found, generally speaking, that hypnotherapy and emotional freedom technique get more quickly to the relieving part than talk therapy. And there's also support groups that you can belong to. I know somebody who joined a support group after her husband passed away, and that was in 2017. And she's still very good friends with a lot of the people from the support group. They go out to dinner once in a while. They have a lot of laughs when they get together. And these are all people whose common bond was that they were survivors of a death of a loved one.
And as you mentioned earlier, actually, about this thing about, do you think people do feel guilty because do they feel that they're expected to be low all the time through the grieving process? And do you think they even feel guilty if they do go out and have a laugh? Do you think there's sort of a mix of emotions going on there?
I would guess some people do feel guilty about it. I know some people who don't, and that's good. That's very healthy.
Yeah, you shouldn't. That's crazy. That's a bit of relief from it. Yeah, maybe it's down to our perception of how we think we should be dealing with stuff. So many outside, like you say, so many outside forces poking their nose in, I would say.
Absolutely.
Like, you do you. And
Right.
like you said earlier, there's no right and there's no wrong. Just do what feels right for you. But yeah, the quicker you can get over it, it's not insulting it's not ruining anything. Doesn't mean you're a bad person because you got over it too soon, or because people put their own judgments on. They probably, people are going to judge. That's what I found. People are going to judge anyway, whatever you do at any time over anything. It's none of your business. If you can find a way not to worry about it because it's not your problem, everybody would be happier. Because some people would judge if they've gone out too soon. Others would judge if they've taken too long. You're never going to get it right. So be kind to yourself and just do you at the time it feels right for you.
Absolutely. And if you're the kind of person who's going to judge the way somebody else is grieving, just keep it to yourself.
Yes.
That's cruel. And your opinion doesn't matter. So just hold it in.
Absolutely. Honestly, if I could pass that, and I mean, I certainly didn't feel like that when I was younger. I'm 51 now, so maybe it all comes with age, and I'd no longer care. I no longer allow other people's opinion of me to affect me anymore. And I would say to my daughters, oh man, if that was the one thing I could pass on to you now, what a waste of energy worrying about what other people think. It's none of their business. And yeah, everybody's to stop judging. Everybody stop judging. For you, what were you actually doing before you did this?
Prior to becoming a hypnotherapist, I was a writer. I wrote some fiction and published some fiction, and I also wrote for a local newspaper. Prior to that, I was an actor for probably 3 decades or so. And so I feel like, even though those seem like disparate careers, I feel like everything has led me here in a way. Every experience I've had has led me to where I am, because I definitely feel like I am where I'm supposed to be. And this is just, the universe has put me here and guided me here.
Love that. It's funny. Yeah, you can look back and see the dots align. You can't see it from back there, though, can you? You couldn't see. That's the trouble. Everybody wants to see that line into the future. It's not going to be there. You'll only see the line when you get there and you look back.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like you're where you're supposed to be?
100%.
Oh, wonderful.
100%. I love what I do. I get to speak to people like yourself. Everybody's serving their communities in lots of different ways, and they've all got different tools in their toolbox. And again, like you said earlier, there's no right. They're all great. They all work. They're all good for the right thing for the right person. It's all roads lead to Rome, really. If you're coming from that heart-centered place. Really, everybody's doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have available at that time. That's just the way I see it.
Absolutely. And how fortunate we are that we get to talk to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. It is funny. And again, and I find it's going back to the subconscious, how the subconscious mind works, and about your thoughts and how we get in our way. I'm talking about the ego part of the mind. And yes, it has its place. Yes, we need it. It's there to keep us safe. I get that. However, I see it more now, it's actually just a tool. We somehow get to a state where it uses us, it's in control. So that ego takes over. And when we can find a way to switch it around and actually use it for its purpose, for doing things. Yeah, we need to think, right, to get things done. But there also has to come a time when we've got to stop the thinking, stop that chitter chatter, and go within. And that is what's changed pretty much everything for me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Because I do talk a lot. So it's Karen, verbally, mentally, and then, magic happens.
Yeah.
So I've never done, have I been hypnotized? I have. I suppose I do self-hypnosis. I think I did once upon a time go and have hypnotherapy to lose weight. It didn't work. It didn't work for me. I didn't go back. But this is the thing, isn't it? We live in such an instant gratification arena that we think one thing, do it once, and then it's going to be done. Again, like we said about our habits and creating new habits, it takes time. You want consistent. So why do we feel that, we're going to go and do one modality, do it once, and then we're going to be cured?
For some people, it does work the first time. That is a possibility. But I think when people think that about hypnotherapy or anything else, really, it's that they're hoping for a magic, pill or a magic bullet or whatever it may be.
It's
and
true.
As far as being in hypnotherapy, being in hypnosis, we are in hypnosis a lot of the time, and we're not really aware of it. It just means that you're in your alpha brainwave state, which you pass through every time you fall asleep and every time you awaken. So at least twice every day you're in hypnosis. But even things like if you're the last one to leave the house in the morning and it's your job to make sure it's locked, and you later on in the day, you touch your keys or something, or you see them and you go, oh, did I lock the door? It's because you were in hypnosis when you locked it. Or if you do something else you're unaware of and you can't remember if you did it, it's because your mind was somewhere else. And that's really all that hypnosis is.
Yeah. And I suppose, I say, if you've been doing something over and over, why we think, and I'm including myself in that, why we think that, just doing one thing once is going to be enough to totally change that, because we resort back to our habitual patterns otherwise, don't we?
Do you remember when you went to this session, if the person explained to you how the subconscious mind works?
Yeah, I understood the subconscious mind then, it was entirely my fault that I didn't keep it up. But I do get it. I use it on myself. I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of self-hypnosis. And I it's part of my day now. I just feel that whatever habit patterns we've had over the years, just like you have to eat every day, just like you have to drink water every day, I personally believe that we would all benefit from daily meditation and daily working on that every single day, because it just helps. So I'm a total believer.
Absolutely. And a process that I teach my clients is called scripting, where you write what you want to have happen as though it has already happened and you're grateful for it. And that's also a very powerful tool.
Absolutely. But there is the issue is again, it's people's belief systems, isn't it? Because sometimes they can write something down, but if they don't truly believe it, there's a bit of a contradiction between their conscious and their unconscious mind. But the gratitude thing, that final thing on top, because that seems to be the issue. I can remember in the past, if I've set certain goals and I haven't achieved them, I realize now it's because I wanted it too much, which meant that I was asking for it from a place of lack, from a place of scarcity, because to want means you don't have it. So that whole gratitude, I think that you've just said there, is massive, because gratitude implies that you've already received it. And that, I think, is the key that so many people miss. So many people miss. They think they're doing the right thing and going for a goal or writing their goals down, but it's the way they're doing it. They're missing what you just said right there. That final piece of the puzzle, got to somehow find a way to come from that feeling place of already having it now, because otherwise, like me, I wanted this or I wanted to do that, and that meant I didn't have it, so universe didn't step in.
Excellent. That's a perfect point to make. It's a perfect point to make. Absolutely.
But there you go. It's all, it just goes to show our perception is everything. So even though I would call myself a student, I'm just a student, right? I'm a student of the self-development arena, and I got it all wrong. It was all thoughts. Oh, your thoughts manifest as feelings, and it's your feelings that drive what you do and your actions and your behaviors, and that's what get you your results. I was too focused on the thoughts, which is ego. It's more about how you actually feel. And it was like, I'm sure they said that, but I wasn't listening to that. I was listening to the thoughts. But it just goes to show our perception can change everything. Yes, see, we're more powerful than and this is the thing. People, you are far more powerful. And just like Winnie the Pooh says, you're stronger than you think. There. You're stronger than you think. You've got the power within. And if you need help, if you want a quick route, if you want to take the shortcut, come see Francis. So if people are watching, this is streaming out on whatever social media platform or YouTube. You can see Francis's show notes and all her links to get in touch. But if somebody's just listening, how do they get in contact with you?
My website is relieveyourmind.com. And my email address, which I have to have fixed, but it is going once again to be Frances, Frances, at relieveyourmind.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. So thank you so much for your time today. No, I love what you do. Yes, I do EFT sometimes on myself. What's the other? I'm just trying to think of the other one. Similar to the Healing Codes by, who is it by? And that's different positions of the hands and things.
Oh, great. I don't know that one.
I'm trying to think. He was one of the teachers in the film The Secret. Oh, it'll come to me. And I'll have to send it over to you. But yes, I love all that. And this is why I do what I do, because I love hearing about it. I'm fascinated by the subject. And I do wish this was all taught at an earlier age, and that more people are aware about it, and that it's all interlinked. I think people are getting to the point where they know that stress is, because they've proven it. Everyone's been saying it for years, but now they've proven it. People are accepting it, that stress is probably, 90% the cause of all diseases, probably. I'm just making that up. It's my opinion.
You're probably right.
It's the cause of all disease. So there's that connection, the spiritual side, and I think people misunderstand what we mean by the spiritual side. But it is all interlinked, a whole subconscious. Where do you draw the line between the mental, the physical, and the spiritual aspects? Do we call the mind the conscious mind? Do we call the subconscious more the spiritual? It's connected to nobody actually knows. These are all opinions. But we do now know that it is what it is, and it does have an effect on the body, because, again, they've now proven it. They can prove that hormones are being released under stress, so that, there is a physiological change going on in your body, which means if you're happy, then there's going to be different hormones, endorphins being released. This is all going to have a different effect on the body. So finally, people are starting to get it, but people still need to hear it a little bit more, I think.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. Everything you said is wonderful.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And to everybody else, have a wonderful weekend because I will be back next Tuesday on A Coffee with Karen. Bye for now.
So long.
The Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.